Even though it's the case that President Donald Trump on the campaign trail promised to take care of veterans, he recently gave thousands of people currently serving in the military the middle finger by making this announcement on Twitter. So he states, after consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Now, if the justification he's using here sounds familiar, well, that's because it's the same line of reasoning we used to justify Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was a ban on gays and lesbians serving openly in the military that was repealed back in, I believe, 2010. So look, let me just state before we even go further, transgender people will win the right to serve openly in the military, and what Trump is doing here is just delaying the inevitable. But the line of reasoning he is citing here, it's bullshit. So when he talks about the so-called disruption and the medical expenses, well, first of all, the military's budget is already bloated, so I think that they can handle any and all medical costs of those serving. And also, second of all, Zach Ford of Think Progress puts the cost into perspective for us. Current military spending on ED drugs is about 10 times higher than the estimated cost for the military to cover transition-related surgeries and other treatment. The Military Times previously reported that in 2014, the Defense Department spent a total of $84.24 million on ED prescriptions. Of that, $41.6 million was specifically spent on Viagra. According to the Defense Health Agency, between 2004 and 2013, the number of service members diagnosed with ED doubled, the equivalent of approximately 10,000 new diagnoses each year. Comparatively, the RAND Corporation estimates that allowing transgender people to serve in the military would raise defense health spending by between $2.4 million and $8.4 million, an increase of 0.04 to 0.13% in expenditures. Transition-related care is medically necessary for transgender people, but does not impede their ability to serve. So really, this isn't about the disruption that transgender people would cause. It's not about the medical costs. This is a decision that was based exclusively on Trump's bigotry. He doesn't like transgender people, and he pretended to be an ally to the LGBT community, when in actuality, he dislikes members of the LGBT community, and this proves it right here. And when it comes to joining the military, what Donald Trump is doing here is he's excluding transgender Americans who are actually willing to serve from the plethora of benefits one gets from joining the military, including the opportunity to travel and acquire new skills and acquire educational opportunities, retirement opportunities, job opportunities. And when you join the military, you can actually purchase a home with no money down using a VA loan. So there's all these benefits that someone would get if they want to join the military that Trump is now excluding them from. And Trump is now saying, if you're transgender, you don't get to serve in our military. You don't get any of these benefits that other people who choose to serve in the military receive. Now, what's odd about this decision is it fails to take into account the thousands of people already serving in the military that are transgender. So what are we going to do with them? Are we going to kick them out of the military? I mean, what are the implications? Well, of course, we don't know, because like all of Trump's plans, this is another half-assed plan. Do we kick them out if we find out they're transgender? Are they required to come forward and reveal their birth sex? I mean, what is the actual implications here? So look, I'm not transgender, but it's important that we share insight from people from the community. So Business Insider explains a retired Navy SEAL Team 6 hero who is transgender had a message for President Donald Trump after he announced the U.S. military would bar transgender people from serving. Let's meet face to face and you tell me I'm not worthy, Kristen Beck, a 20-year veteran of the Navy SEALs, told Business Insider on Wednesday. Transgender doesn't matter. Do your service. Being transgender doesn't affect anyone else, Beck said. We are liberty's light. If you can't defend that for everyone that's an American citizen, that's not right. Now, additionally, in an op-ed for the New York Times, another transgender veteran, Chelsea Manning, wrote this: This is about bias and prejudice. This is about systemic discrimination, like the integration of people of color and women in the past. This is a sign of progress that threatens the social order, and the president is reacting against that progress. We are neither disruptive nor expensive. We are human beings, and we will not be erased or ignored. So I think that's really the perfect way to put it. These are human beings, and you are denying them their humanity because they're transgender, and that to me is immoral. It's reprehensible. And the good thing, I guess the silver lining, if you could take anything away from this, is that people are really starting to wake up. One person in particular, Caitlyn Jenner, who deluded herself into thinking that Trump actually cared about transgender people, is beginning to realize that he doesn't give a damn about you. But I do want to take a moment here to give credit to someone who I usually don't give credit to, John McCain. So back when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still on the books and when we were fighting to repeal it, John McCain was one of the most vocal advocates for Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And he actually has come out against Trump here. So CNN reports that John McCain released a statement about Trump's announcement saying the statement was unclear. The Department of Defense has already decided to allow currently serving transgender individuals to stay in the military, and many are serving honorably today. Any American who meets current medical and readiness standards should be allowed to continue serving, the Arizona Republicans said in a statement. There's no reason to force service members who are able to fight, train, and deploy to leave the military. Regardless of their gender identity, we should all be guided by the principle that any American who wants to serve our country and is able to meet the standards should have the opportunity to do so and should be treated as the patriots they are. So John McCain saw the light, at least on this one issue. This week he still voted to strip healthcare away from millions of Americans, so that's its own separate story, but at least he saw the issue on this. So credit where credit is due. But getting back to Donald Trump, what Donald Trump did here is unacceptable. It's just a brazenly bigoted thing. He is the definition of a regressive. Right-wingers like to talk about the so-called regressive left, but really, this is one of the most regressive things you can do. What Donald Trump is doing is he's taking a wrecking ball and he's trying to undo what little progress we made on a ton of different issues. It's not just LGBT rights. He's rolling back any progress we've made with respect to climate change and healthcare. And it's not like we've taken giant leaps that we need to, but he's just undoing what little progress we've made. And it's shameful. But Donald Trump has no shame. He's proven that time and again. So history will judge Donald Trump accordingly. He will be looked back on as a bigoted asshole president who did something that harms a community that is no different than anyone else. They're human beings. I thought the right, they talk about snowflakes and being triggered. Well, if you're triggered by someone who is transgender, then maybe you need to look in the mirror. Maybe you're the real snowflake if you're against transgender people. Because who gives a shit if someone is transgender? I don't care. If they're willing to serve, let them serve. This is just so unnecessary, and you're only prolonging the inevitable. Transgender people will have the right to serve. So in unnecessarily banning them from serving, Donald Trump is just making the history books or giving them more ammunition against him.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.